Picture the final laps in Abu Dhabi. Floodlights bouncing off papaya orange. Max Verstappen up the road, Oscar Piastri filling the mirrors, and in between them a 26-year-old Brit with a reputation that never quite matched his raw pace. For years, Lando Norris was the kid people said was too nice to ever rule Formula One. Too open about his doubts. Too smiley. Too busy streaming, laughing, apologizing. And yet here he is, managing the tires, managing his nerves, and, most importantly, managing himself, knowing that if he just brings the car home in third, he becomes a world champion. So let's be brutally honest for a moment. Did Lando Norris just prove that the whole "you have to be a ruthless villain to win in F1" myth is broken? Or did he simply hide the same killer instinct behind a softer, friendlier mask? This is a mentality breakdown of Lando Norris, the new champion who still has people asking whether he's a future legend or just too nice to ever truly rule this sport. To understand why that question even exists, you have to rewind to the early years. From day one in F1, Lando never looked like a guy struggling with speed. He looked like a guy struggling with self-star. The talent was obvious: mega qualifying laps, outrageous car control in the wet, wheel-to-wheel aggression when he trusted the car underneath him. But the narrative around his mentality started forming almost immediately. He was one of the first of this new generation to speak openly about mental health. He admitted on TV that the pressure, the expectations, the constant judgment were affecting him. He talked about self-doubt, about reading comments, about not sleeping. For some people, that made him relatable. For others, especially in a paddock raised on the mythology of Senna, Schumacher, and peak Hamilton, it made him look fragile. Then came the results to feed that storyline. The endless podiums without a win. The nickname Lando No Wins. The near misses where something always seemed to go wrong, strategy, weather, safety cars, or one tiny mistake under pressure. Every time he didn't convert a big chance, the same question echoed louder: is this guy actually built to finish the job? And it wasn't just fans. You had senior figures inside the sport openly suggesting he wasn't the strongest mentally, that he was too soft, too easily rattled, too emotional after bad weekends. Helmut Marko's comments about his mental strength didn't come out of nowhere. They tapped into a story people already believed. That's the first brutal truth about Lando Norris. He did give people plenty of evidence to doubt his mentality. You can hear it in the team radio from those early seasons, the spirals of self-criticism, the defeated tone when a race starts slipping away, the way a single mistake could poison the rest of a weekend. For a while, it felt like his worst enemy wasn't Max, Lewis, or the car, it was the guy in the mirror. But here's the second brutal truth. The same traits that made people underestimate Lando's mentality are exactly what allowed him to fix it. Unlike a lot of drivers, Norris didn't pretend everything was fine. He didn't build that bulletproof, macho persona where nothing ever hurts and nothing is ever your fault. He publicly admitted when he was disappointed in himself. He openly said he put too much pressure on his own shoulders. He admitted that sometimes he cared too much about what people thought. From the outside, that looks like weakness. Inside a high-performance mindset, that's data. Because once you're honest about the problem, you give yourself a chance to actually solve it. Over the last couple of seasons, you can see a clear mental evolution. He steps away from social media more. He talks about resetting between races instead of carrying emotional baggage from one weekend to the next. He leans into structure, better preparation, cleaner debriefs, a calmer approach to Fridays instead of trying to win the Grand Prix in the first practice session. And crucially, he stops chasing the idea of becoming someone else. There's a version of this story where Lando decides to copy Max Verstappen's persona, or prime Schumacher, or peak Alonso. Cold, confrontational, permanently angry at the world. Instead, he doubles down on being himself, but sharper. Still joking in the pen, but more pointed with his criticism when the car or the team lets him down. Still kind with fans and media, but far more ruthless with his own execution on track. Still a nice guy, but not a pushover. That's the mental switch you can feel in 2025. Let's talk about ruthlessness, because this is where the myth gets messy. People love to say, you can't win titles in F1 without being ruthless. But what do we actually mean by ruthless? If it's about squeezing people to the white line, sending it down the inside into turn 1 and refusing to back out in wheel-to-wheel fights, Lando has always had that. Look at his battles with Lewis Hamilton, with Charles Leclerc, with George Russell. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't jump out of the way. If it's about telling the team what he needs, demanding upgrades, pushing strategy, arguing on the radio, that side of him has grown every single year. Listen in now and you hear someone who isn't afraid to say, no, this tire is done, or we should have boxed last lap, and then park the emotion and get on with the job. So when people say he's too nice, they're often talking about something else. They're talking about persona star. Max, Michael, Ayrton. The sport has built an entire mythology around the idea that to be great, you need a permanent you attitude to the world. You need to be willing to lean on people, blow up relationships, play politics, and live every second as if the universe owes you a win. Lando doesn't fit that mold. He jokes. He smiles. He plays golf. He streams. He admits when he's scared. He admits when he made a mistake. So the real question isn't, is he ruthless enough? The real question is, can someone who refuses to become that traditional villain still dominate this sport? Abu Dhabi didn't just answer whether Norris could win a title. It answered whether his version of mentality works at the very top. He came into that finale with the weight of every doubt on his shoulders, from being called mentally weak, to being told he'd never match Max's killer instinct, to seeing his own teammate outscore him earlier in the year. All the old scripts were ready to be recycled. And he didn't crack. He didn't need to run Verstappen off the road. He didn't need a controversial lunge or a political masterstroke in the steward's room. He just needed to be relentlessly, boringly excellent, manage the tires, hit his marks, ignore the noise. That's exactly what he did. But let's not turn this into a fairy tale. A single world title doesn't automatically make you a legend. It makes you a champion. There's a difference. If we're doing a brutally honest mentality breakdown, we have to talk about what holds Lando back from stepping into that era-defining category. First, there's the emotional volatility. Even in 2025, you hear flashes of it. The self-destructive radio messages when a race starts going wrong. The body language on a bad Saturday. The post-race interviews where he tips from self-awareness into self-sabotage, calling himself not good enough even after a decent result. That edge can be useful, it shows standards. But if it isn't controlled, it drains energy and sucks confidence out of a season. Second, there's the comfort zone. Lando has grown up inside McLaren. He knows everyone. He has influence. He has real power in that environment. That's a blessing and a trap. Some of the most dominant legends in F1 use discomfort as fuel. Schumacher rebuilt Ferrari. Hamilton walked into a hostile, split environment at Mercedes and turned it into his dynasty. Verstappen forced Red Bull to build an entire project around him. Norris now has the keys to a team that finally gave him a title. Does he have the mentality to keep pushing them, to keep demanding more, even when everyone is telling him how great he is? Or does comfort start to eat into that inner urgency? Third, there's the narrative he's chosen for himself. He has said, in different ways, that he wants to win his way without becoming someone he hates. He wants to prove you can be a world champion and a decent human being. He doesn't want to lose the liberty of who he is just to role-play the villain. That's admirable. But it also raises the stakes. Because now, every time he loses, that nice guy identity gets tested. Every time he hesitates in a wheel-to-wheel fight or backs out of a risky move, people will say, see? That's the mentality problem. That's him being too soft. To truly become an legend, he has to show, repeatedly, that his version of nice doesn't mean he gives things away. It has to mean this: respect off track, ruthlessness on it. So where does that leave the big question? Is Lando Norris a future legend or too nice to rule F1? Here's the honest answer. He's already destroyed the lazy idea that openness equals weakness. The kid who once admitted he cared too much about people's opinions is now the man who stared down Max Verstappen and his own teammate across a brutal season and still walked away with the trophy. He didn't do it by pretending to be unbreakable. He did it by learning how to break, recover, and come back sharper. He's also shown that you don't need a cartoon supervillain personality to survive at the top. You can joke with your engineer, sign autographs for kids, talk publicly about bad days, and still throw a car into a gap at 300 kilometers per hour without blinking. But the legend question isn't about who you are in one season. It's about who you keep choosing to be when the narrative flips again. Because make no mistake, it will. There will be another year when the car isn't the best. When a teammate finds a purple patch. When Verstappen, Leclerc, Piastri, or the next hungry kid in the junior ranks comes after his crown. On those days, the nice guy champion will be tested more brutally than anyone. If he keeps using his vulnerability as information instead of ammunition. If he keeps demanding more from himself without tearing himself apart. If he keeps that clean, fair approach on track while refusing to be pushed around. Then yes, we're not just looking at a world champion. We're watching the formation of a new type of F1 legend. If he slips back into old patterns, overthinking, spiraling, letting the weight of expectation crush him, then this 2025 title risks becoming a beautiful, emotional one-off. Right now, the evidence points to a driver who has finally found the balance. Not a cold assassin. Not a soft victim of pressure. Something rarer. A world champion who proved that you can be emotionally honest, fundamentally decent, and still utterly uncompromising where it counts most, in the braking zone. Whether that makes Lando Norris the future ruler of F1 or the first chapter of a different kind of greatness, that part of the story is still being written. But for the first time, it's being written entirely on his terms.